Alright, we've covered an animal walk, an animal run, and so now I'd say the next thing is a trot. It's a nice middle pace between a walk and a run, and animals such as cats, dogs, and horses all have it in their lineup of gaits. It's also one of the easier ones to animate, with fewer steps. A rule to follow for the trot is that the legs will move in diagonal pairs. This leg and this leg move together, and this leg and this leg move together. If you don't quite get it, you'll see what I mean in this first frame. The easiest frame to start with is one of two airborne frames. None of the feet are touching the ground, but most likely hovering slightly above it. Starting with the front legs, pick one of the two to be out forward, and one to be going back. Then, whichever back leg that is diagonal to the front forward one will also be going out forward. And same for the other back leg and its diagonal. I'll color the diagonal pairs so it's easier to tell how they match up with each other. The motion of jumping upward can cause the tail to go up and stretch out a bit, and the ears may also be pulled back slightly. In the frame following this, the more forward diagonal pair will touch down on the ground. The body will lower a bit. The other two legs that are still up in the air will keep relatively in the same position, but move forward. The head starts sinking down, the tail goes down and bunches inward slightly, and if you're animating movement on the ears, this is the frame where they would be the most forward, due to the slight decrease in momentum caused by touching the ground. In the third frame, the feet on the ground are still on the ground, and the feet up in the air are also still in the air, same as the previous frame. The body will sink down just a bit more in preparation for the jump back up, and so will the tail and the head. The legs continue the same motion. The two in the air should, at this point, become farther forward than the legs on the ground, and the legs on the ground should now be angled forward instead of back. The weight of the body should appear to shift forward in a sort of slight lean. The fourth frame is very similar to our first. The only difference is that the legs are swapped. At this straight-on side angle, the easiest thing to do is duplicate the first airborne frame, and then adjust the legs so that the closer legs are the further legs, and vice versa. Instead of the front right and back left being the farther forward of the legs, now the front left and back right are going forward. For the remaining two frames, you can do the same thing. Duplicate the second and third frames, and then swap the legs. You can probably tell why I've said this is a much easier gait to animate than something like the run. You make the first 3 keyframes, and then the remaining 3 are just based on those. And assuming, after you play the animation, you notice some things you want to change, don't stress over the frames with the same but swapped leg positions, needing to be exact silhouettes of each other. You don't have to completely redo the second of the two after changing something small in the first one. If anything, some slight changes will help the cycle feel more natural. Once you've got those 6 frames, you'll most likely need to draw some in-between frames to smooth it out and fill in the gaps. Once that's done, you have a completed trot animation. In slow motion, see how each jump causes the tail to lift and stretch, and how the head sinks down before each jump, and then raises back up as the animal lifts up off of the ground. Also important to note is that the shoulders move as well as the legs. When this leg goes back, the shoulder goes back with it, and more of the chest is visible. Then when that leg goes forward, the shoulder moves forward, and more of the chest is hidden. You can tweak this animation to get different personalities and feels to it. For example, if you make them jump higher up and sink lower down, as well as have more exaggerated tail and head movement, it feels extra bouncy and cheerful. You could also go the reverse and make it more low-key, maybe not even getting off the ground at all. Although I don't think it would still be considered a trot in that case, might work well for what you're going for. I think that's it. Here's my animal run cycle tutorial if you haven't seen it. I'm not sure if there's any more gaits worth covering, but who knows. Let me know if there's one you still want to see, or other types of four-legged animal action to continue the series with. Thanks for watching!